But he says, preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. You know, we fear many things. Most people fear death. Most people fear death. We spend a lot of time, a lot of money trying to avoid it, trying to postpone it, trying to act as if it's not really going to happen. When someone dies, we don't say, well, you know, they died. We say they passed on. They're not with us anymore. It's true for a believer, they didn't die. I love the opportunity to preach at my uncle-in-law, I think that's what he would be, my uncle-in-law's funeral. And when I got up, I said that there's a rumor going around that Leroy is dead. He's not. I mean, his body was laying right there in front of us, but he's not dead, because Jesus told us that as believers in Jesus Christ, as followers of Him, that we will never die. He who believes in me shall never die. That's the promise. Now, this body does, but that's not us. This is just what we're walking around in right now. It's part of us, but it's not us. But people fear death. People fear death. We fear pain. You know, we don't like pain. One of the pastors there was talking about pain and how there's a certain martial art where they endure excruciating, unbelievable pain and continue to do that in a way, and over a period of 5 years they develop physically the ability to resist pain that's unimaginable, and yet they harden themselves to not be able to experience that pain. But it takes a long time for them to do it, and I think, what did the guy say? It's 1 out of 100 guys, actually make it through the 5 years of, making it to that place of being able to resist this excruciating pain. But nobody likes pain. I mean, when was the last time you went home and said, I think today I'm gonna turn the stove on and just stick my hand on it. We avoid pain. We jump back from it. We try to protect ourselves from pain. When we see something coming toward us physically that's going to cause pain, we react. When we see something emotionally that comes toward us that's going to cause pain, we react. We resist. That's right. God put that protection measure within us. One of the things the pastor explained to us of this particular martial art technique is that what actually happens is there's a particular chemical that goes to your brain that says, hey, this particular part of your body is in pain. And what happens is, over time, they reduce the amount of that chemical that goes to the brain so that the brain doesn't know that, there's pain coming. My brain knows when pain's coming. But there's another thing that we fear, and it's actually what David is getting at in this psalm. We fear the opinion of other people. We're very concerned about the opinion of other people. I didn't think so when I was a teenager. I grew up in the 50s and 60s. And in the 60s, there was the hippie movement. And the big thing about the hippie movement was we're different. We're different. We're unique. We're ourselves. We're unique individuals. I'm going to let my freak flag fly, which was your long hair, so that, because I'm different. And I am who I am, and I'm not going to be molded into some mold of the establishment. But what I was doing was I was being molded into the new mold of the new establishment, was the hippies and letting my freak flag fly. And I was very concerned about, how do I fit in with my peers? How am I, are my bell bottoms big enough? Are they long enough? Is my hair long enough? It was just a different class of people that I was concerned about their opinion. And I can still remember my dad. Gosh, he had it right on the money. And we were having one of those discussions, let's say, at an elevated volume level and emotional level. And I'm trying to tell them about what an individual I am. And man, I'm listening to these groups and they're fighting against the establishment. And he's saying, no, they're just making money off of you because you're buying their albums. And they figured out what you will listen to. No, Dad, that's not true. I'm an individual. He said, no, you're not. Take a look around at all the people around you. You're doing exactly what they're doing. No. Years later, I looked at it and went, wow, was he right on? Man, it was just a different crowd. And I don't know what crowd you're concerned about. You know, it might be I don't think there are any hippies around anymore, except I think there are a few communes up in Oregon or something that are still hanging out. But whatever crowd it is in this life that you're concerned about, the business crowd, the cool crowd, I don't even know what to name the crowds. But you know. And we fear that opinion. We're concerned about, well, I want people to like me. Well, at least I don't want people to hate me. I don't want people to think I'm stupid. Whatever it is, we come to that place of fear. And that's what David is speaking about here in this psalm. He says, preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. We don't know exactly when he wrote this psalm. It could have been when when Saul was chasing him. It could have been when he was during the time of the battles with the Philistines. It might have been during the time when his son Absalom rose up against him and David's chased out of the city as the king. David had many times of enemies surrounding him and physical threats. But what does he say? He says, hide me from the secret plots of the wicked, from the rebellion of the workers of iniquity, who sharpen their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows. What are their arrows? Bitter words. Bitter words like arrows. Proverbs 18:21 says this, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Here's this warrior, and he's worried about what people are going to say about him. Turn to the book of James, New Testament. So, go all the way to Revelation and turn back about 4 or 5 books. Book of James. And we'll start first of all by looking at James chapter 1, verse 26. And James says a very powerful thing here.